We got coronavirus in BC.
Oh, what? Are you serious? Okay, well, can you drive me home? I'm not taking the SkyTrain.
Yep.
Wait, what? Seriously? Where? Oh, me. I knew this
New
was
Westminster
happen.
on the corner of...
Shut up, Ryan. Don't even joke about that. It's not on my news feed. Now I'm stressed.
Oh, don't be stressed.
I was feeling positive, but now I'm going to die of the coronavirus. BC reports first coronavirus in Vancouver region. God damn it. Yeah, we're screwed. We are screwed. I knew this.
Settle down, Rob.
No, it's so true. I knew once it hits BC, man, we're done.
This is the AT Banter podcast, a balanced and entertaining look at assistive technology, accessibility, and its importance in people's lives. Join Rob Minot, Ryan Fleury, and Steve Barclay as they banter with people around the world about anything and everything regarding assistive technology and the disability community. Now, on with the show.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of AT Banter.
Banter.
Ooh,
that was solid.
That was a strike.
Damn, you're serious today.
I turned that thing 90 degrees there.
Yeah, you knocked the cowbell right off the stand, dude. Holy
Knocked
cow.
the cowbell right off the cow.
Yeah.
My name is Rob Minot. Joining me today, Mr. Ryan Fleury,
Howdy.
as usual, and Mr. Steve Barclay,
With enthusiasm.
Oh.
the cowbell.
I'm being gentle now.
And hey, look, I see somebody else is mic'd here.
He is too.
Mr. Grumbly.
Thanks for joining us, Grumbly.
Yeah.
Press him one more time.
What?
Just a second, because he does different things.
Okay.
So far, he's indistinguishable from Ryan.
This is pretty
Pretty much. Every time I get off the phone.
Hey, Ryan, how about that lift? Oh my God. I have to edit that. Look at that waveform. What the hell is that? It's just like.
We should, let's play a game. Ryan or Grumbly?
Good Lord. Well, listen, I was going to start off by saying that you guys did it. Yeah, okay.
No, Grumbly's going to
He's
sleep.
going to sleep. All right, hold on. We just got to wait for this. You're right. This is exactly what it's like with Ryan, too. It's like, wait, he's going to sleep. Okay, good. Okay. No, I was going to say you guys did a fine job last week without me.
All Steve. Thank you, Steve.
Oh, yeah.
Bailed us out.
Just don't do it again.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, believe me, I will do my best. As long as I don't get the coronavirus, we should be okay.
Holy smokes, yeah. I'm keeping Lime around house just in case.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I'm hoping... Actually, I'm kind of... Global pandemic doesn't really panic me as much as, like, I don't know, some other... Like an asteroid hitting the Earth or anything. Because I feel like... Because I'm a hermit anyways. I'm a homebody. I have social anxiety. I like staying at home anyway. So I feel like a global pandemic, out of all the apocalyptic scenarios that we could go through, I feel like I have a best shot at a global pandemic of surviving.
Yeah, seems reasonable.
Yeah.
As long as you don't touch a railing in that time. you know.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
which
you're
I
good.
don't anyways,
Yeah.
you know, and, you know, as long as I just have coffee and creamer,
Yeah, that's all you need.
that's all kind of I need.
Make your
I'm
one
fine.
run out to Safeway
the
to grab
only
the
thing
bulk
I-
pack of Chef Boyardee.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a flat of that in the cupboard anyway, so I know I'm kind of good. So bring it on. Bring on the coronavirus.
Or the other
We'll
corona
see.
would be good too. You can bring that on.
Just though, like not the simian flu though. Nothing that makes animals super intelligent who then take over the planet, because then that's a problem. So,
Yeah.
anyways, I don't know how we got off topic on that.
Well,
No,
it's not off topic. It's current. That's current events, man.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah, coronavirus. So like 150 people dead in China right now because of it already.
Yes.
Is it that high now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we've had 2 confirmed cases in Toronto.
Yeah, husband and a wife.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, listen. Maybe a global pandemic will bring the rent down in the city.
Not likely.
You don't think so? It'd actually go up?
Oh, probably.
Yeah, they'll start having to put in HEPA filters on the furnaces, and they'll raise the rents as a result.
I considered actually getting some of those face masks, but then when I had to order them on Amazon, I realized they're actually made in China. So that seemed to be counterproductive.
And licked by the workers.
Yeah, so it's not going to happen. I don't know how effective those are anyways. Do they really do anything? I see people walking around with those all the time.
They're, if somebody has something and they sneeze into them, it might do something, but I don't think it's really going to do a whole lot. Because it's not like they seal around your face, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They keep you from outputting crap, I guess, but you're still going to breathe in crap.
Oh, yeah. See, I guess I always thought it was the other way around. I thought people were wearing them to protect themselves, but maybe they're wearing them because they're sick, in which case, okay, good for you.
Yeah, and a lot of these things, too, they're transmittable through mucous membranes, so, that mask ain't over your eyes.
True. Oh.
Yeah, so you touch a railing, rub your eyes, infected.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. And you're dead. That's it. You're dead.
Well,
Good night.
That's cheery. Yeah.
All right, well, let's rant a little bit more. Tell us about your Uber Lyft rant.
Okay, so we just got Uber and Lyft in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And Ryan in particular has been a pretty big booster of Uber and Lyft because F-bomb taxis.
Well, did you hear, and I'm just going to interject here, on the news the other night.
Yeah.
Was it the news? Yes, I think it was the news. Anyway, one of the reporters took an Uber from some area in Mount Pleasant to Metrotown, and it cost him, what was it? I think it was $18. Mm-hmm. They took the same trip in a cab.
Yeah.
It was $36.
Yeah.
It's like, bring on Uber. These taxi companies can screw themselves.
Yeah, okay, so I get that.
Yeah.
However, the provincial government who licenses these guys, in their infinite brilliance, did not make it a requirement for Uber or Lyft to have any wheelchair accessible service.
Yes. Yeah.
So today, the Vancouver Taxi Association, actually I believe it was yesterday, the Vancouver Taxi Association announced that because Uber and Lyft don't have to do it, they're no longer going to subsidize wheelchair accessible
I heard
cabs.
that on the news, yeah.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, I'm stunned. That's
It's a douche move.
oh my God.
I mean, it's
Absolutely.
totally a douche move. We hated these guys already
Yeah.
because they're jackasses, but on top of it now, they're jackasses who are going after the most disadvantaged
Yeah.
clients that they have.
Wow, that's a scumbag move.
Yeah, absolutely.
Holy cow. I did not hear that.
Yeah, it was on
Why
the
isn't
news.
that getting big news?
It was on the news last night.
Was
They
it?
talked about on CTV anyway. Yeah, a little
And
bit.
I really hope every one of those single cab companies go under because of Uber
That's such a
and Lyft.
mafia
Really.
mentality.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, here's the thing. If they go under, who has wheelchair accessible services?
Yeah.
Nobody, because
Nobody.
they didn't require it of Uber and Lyft. At very least, they should have required that Uber and Lyft pay into some kind of fund for more accessible taxi type services. But all it takes is for the government to clamp down on them and say, hey, you have to do this.
Yes.
You know?
Which they could have. We've been waiting for 2 years
Yeah,
to get
exactly.
ride sharing here.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
You know, they said they were delaying this because they wanted to do it right and they wanted to have proper licensing, so they forced them to get class 4 licenses, which, most other places don't force them to do. Bravo for them for that. But come on. Accessibility is important. There's a whole group of people who can't use this service now.
It goes beyond that. I mean, it's accessibility and mobility combined. I mean, those are core components of what we need.
Yeah.
This isn't like a throwaway issue. This is a major
Yeah, and I'm surprised
major
that
accessibility problem.
Yeah.
surprised that we haven't heard these groups screaming yet, because I'm sure there were talks with the premier and some of the disabled groups about bringing ride sharing in. So I'm sure we're going to hear about this.
Yep, you betcha.
Ugh, that's terrible.
Well, you want to know what else is really terrible? Did you hear what Surrey's doing?
Yes.
Surrey is pulling shitty moves as well.
What do they
The
do?
mayor of Surrey is basically entrapping Uber drivers and fining them because they don't have a business license to operate in Surrey.
What stick is up everybody's asses about this?
Yeah, they have somebody call Uber. Uber shows up, and then a bylaw officer comes and tickets them.
Why?
Because they don't have a business license
But
to
I
operate
know I
in Surrey.
understand that, but
Yeah.
why? So, but why is Surrey against having?
Surrey's not. The mayor is.
Man, that's crazy.
They had
crazy
on the news last
political.
night. They launched the Uber app, and within a minute of opening the app, they had 4 requests for an Uber. The demand is there. It's
Yeah,
the
of
mayor
course
who
it
also
is.
wants to dissolve the RCMP and bring in his own.
What?
Yeah, he wants to dissolve the RCMP and bring in his own city
sounds
police.
nuts.
He's an idiot. He's an idiot.
Oh my God.
I would love to know who financed his political campaign, because I'm willing to bet
Taxi company?
that there are taxi companies behind him.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think he's a twat. Sorry, but he's just going to cost that city money.
I don't know if I'm going to have to bleep that or not.
Probably.
I don't know. I don't know. Where do we stand on that?
Wait, do we bleep?
I bleep.
Oh, yeah.
I bleep occasionally. I mean, I don't bleep.
F-bombs will bleep.
Yeah, usually any F bombs. I'll. Oh God, I don't even know where to go from that. Okay, so what were we talking about?
I think we're talking news.
Oh yeah, I know we're talking.
It's a news show.
We're talking about Uber and Lyft, but
Right.
because I'm still trying to process this news. Like I can't believe that. So, as it stands right now, if you have a wheelchair in the city and you call for either a cab or an Uber or Lyft, there's no guarantee that you're actually going to be able to.
No, if you call for an Uber or Lyft, they will not send an accessible vehicle because they don't have any.
Okay.
If you call for a taxi, you can request a wheelchair accessible taxi.
Okay.
And they do have wheelchair accessible taxis.
Okay.
However, the Taxi Association has now said that they are no longer going to subsidize the wheelchair accessible taxis, which means there won't be more wheelchair accessible taxis put on the road. So the ones that we have now
Great.
are the ones that we have. We won't be getting any more. As those ones start to age out and die, there won't be any more to replace them. That's basically what they're saying.
Yeah. Okay. Well, somebody needs to go in and fix that. Hopefully, that's the fact that at least it's seems to be getting some news coverage, because that's ridiculous. You can't do that. We just can't do that. Like we can't live in a society where there's no.
No, whether you're Uber, Lyft, or a taxi company or other, some sort of public access transportation organization, I think you need to have a percentage of your fleet that's accessible. That needs to be mandated.
For sure. We're going to be talking about different articles today about accessibility and things. And I can't believe that we're going backwards on some of the most important aspects of accessibility.
Yep.
It's insane.
Well, and especially, during the last little snowstorm that we had, Handy Dart was only, what do they call it, priority service, or I forget the terminology, but it wasn't, if you had to go to the mall or go grocery shopping, they weren't going to pick you up. It was for, medical appointments only.
Yeah.
So, limited service, and we have no way to get around, right? So,
That's disgusting.
Yep. And it's a problem.
Yeah, it really is. This city, man. What the hell is wrong with this city?
Well, the province. Another one, and just transit related.
Yeah.
City of Kitimat is now having to cut back on their bus services because the liquid natural gas company that is operating in the north has recruited is recruiting the bus drivers away. They need drivers for the liquid natural gas stuff. So they're now poaching the
Bus drivers?
bus drivers, and there aren't enough bus drivers to run the routes in Kitimat anymore.
Jeez. Well, you know what? Bring on the apes. Let's just maybe we should just get the simian flu out there.
Yeah.
You can't do any worse.
That's right.
Yeah. And that, of course, makes people go,
It's never going to get old for us.
Nope.
It'll get old for the audience. Not for us, though. We're going to be. Hey, Ryan.
Rob.
Speaking of rambling on, what are we doing today? Not you, Grumbly.
No, sorry. Today we are talking news. We've got 4 or 5 different stories. I don't know if we're going to cover all of them, but we'll have a discussion on a few topics of accessibility. I agree.
Yeah, shut up, Grumbly. You don't need...
I don't know, Grumbly's inserting editorial comment.
Yeah, really. A little harsh.
Jeez.
A little harsh. Remember who pays you? Cuts your check there, buddy. You want more batteries? You better shape
Smart
up.
enough.
Did you order a T-shirt, Ryan? From
I did.
yeah, I was kind of bummed out that I missed last week.
TwoBlindBrothers.com.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was a really good interview. These seemed like really fun guys.
Yeah, I'm concerned though it's not going to fit. I think the U.S. sizes are smaller than our Canadian sizes.
Are
What?
you kidding?
No.
No.
Are they bigger?
No,
Far,
it's dead
far
opposite.
from
Yeah.
it, dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to service the state of Texas. So,
And everything's bigger in Texas.
All right. Well, we'll
yeah,
see
no,
when it comes.
Trust me. It's a large. There is gonna. Would you order a large or an extra?
Extra large. All my shirts are extra large.
Good Lord, yeah, you'll definitely fit you.
Excellent.
Yep. I ordered one too.
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yep.
So what are the T-shirts worth?
$80 Canadian.
Oof.
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah, it was like I think $63 with exchange and taxes and.
But I mean,
I think
hey,
like $80.
softest shirt in the world.
So they say.
Clearly.
That's
Yeah.
what they're telling us.
Yeah.
Well, it's that bamboo, right? Bamboo is a really unique material.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bamboo. What was it? Bamboo, cotton, and
Probably,
the
Spandex.
spandex material. Yeah.
yeah, lycra. Yeah, so it sounds cool. Yeah, so I was a little sorry to miss that, but you guys did okay. You managed without me.
Well, don't make a habit of it.
All right, well, let's start out. Let's talk a little bit about web accessibility, shall we?
Absolutely.
Because while we're on the topic of accessibility, I thought this was interesting. I saw this article, but did you guys realize that January 2021 is the deadline for Ontario for the Accessibility Act over in Ontario to implement full web accessibility?
Now, is that just government or is that government and private enterprise?
It was both.
Yeah, it's both.
Organizations of 50 employees or more, plus government agencies as well.
Yep. Yeah, which
Ain't gonna happen.
of course it's not going to happen. I mean, and herein lies the problem. Well, I mean, there's many problems. I mean, there's been problems with that Ontario Accessibility Act right from the get-go. They haven't really. They're not really on track to meet a lot of the goals that they've set. I mean, obviously, I'm all about accessibility. My problem is, are they overreaching with this? Because I feel like we don't even have accessibility in like build environments, or we just had a conversation about how we've gone backwards in terms of accessible cabs. I think that this legislation is all well and good, but I think that there also has to be tempered with a realistic expectation, and that's where I feel like it's falling down. And I think that this is the problem that's happening in the States specifically with a lot of the lawsuits around the ADA wording. That Domino's decision just recently last year is a great example of where that yardstick is in terms of what you can point to and what you can actually litigate. So, and in that example, it was pointing to it was either their website or their app or whatever.
Yeah, their website and their app.
And just the fact that, it was not usable to somebody who was trying to access that with a screen reader.
Right.
And that was a very specific problem. Those are the types of things that are going to be able to be litigated and to be enforced.
Yep.
Something like you don't have strong enough contrasting colors in your graphical header or your website colors, that's just not something that's ever going to be able to be enforced, and it's never going to be something that's
And it's probably not anything that you're going to see a lawsuit around anyways.
Well, no, exactly, but that's what I mean.
Probably not even part of WCAG compliance.
It is. Well, I mean, I don't know about the compliance
part. It might be part of a recommendation.
Right.
But they have recommendations, and then they have.
I see. Okay.
Then they have actual hard compliance items.
Right. See, that's what I think they need to make more clear, or at least I would hope so. And again, maybe we might see a real uptick in companies that make it their specialty to go in and help businesses.
Already happening. There's tons of them. You could Google right now. There's a ton of them in the States because of ADA, and they're starting to pop up in Ontario like crazy too.
And that transitions well into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which was this this new startup called Accessibee, that is trying to do that, although with an AI component. It would just be software that you would just run.
Yeah, virtually all of the guys who are doing compliance now are using some sort of AI component. So it's talking about how they are using iris and OCR technologies to understand what objects and images are and create alt text. We know how well that works.
Yeah, well, that still has a long way to go as well.
Yeah, that's not even going to provide a minimal amount of compliance, I would think.
Well, no, or even really very good alt tags at all, because again, it can identify certain objects in a picture, but it can't, without context, that's all useless anyways.
Yeah, and we know how well OCR works on colored backgrounds and with funky fonts, right?
I think that this is great. I think if it works, and that's great, and if it makes it easier for websites to be more compliant and more usable, I also think that's good. What worries me is this AI component and whether or not that is a better way to make websites accessible as opposed to actually going in and doing it manually and doing it the right way.
Well, so this is different than what guys like Vispero are doing, because what Vispero is doing is they're going to give you a report of what you need to fix.
Right.
And give you examples of how to fix it.
Right.
So those tools exist. If you want to fix your website and make it accessible, the tools are there to tell you what you need to do.
Right. Yeah, and I think that is still the best way, because I worry about if it's, are we just going to pop in a piece of a JavaScript into the website and boom, it does it all for us and it's automatic. I don't know. I still think that you need that human.
Well, humans can definitely do alt tags more descriptive than AI can, but at some point, AI is going to get smarter than we are. Like right now,
and
AI is
our robot overlords.
Absolutely. Right now, everything AI can do is input and controlled by us, right? But it's getting smarter all the time.
Yeah, but no, I disagree. I don't think that AI is ever going to get to a point where, at least not in our lifetime.
Yeah, look how well that worked out for Captain Marvel, right?
That's right. No, but seriously, it's just not, because a lot of an effective alt tag for a picture, for example, if we're talking about, like Facebook's efforts to try to have this automatic alt tag. I mean, you can have a picture of a sunset, and the AI can go in and recognize, okay, this is a sunset, and it'll say, okay, picture of a sunset. Well, that doesn't give you any sort of context as to what the picture is trying to emote, or what makes that sunset particularly important to the context of why it's there.
Yeah, and it might have missed key elements like the low contrast couple walking along the beach with their dog running in front of it because the contrast wasn't high enough for the AI to sort those elements out.
Right,
for the
exactly.
image. It doesn't show the dolphin that's leaping in the background spectacularly, and it also doesn't show the Sea Shepherd boat that's chasing around after it to make sure the Japanese whalers don't get it. So,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The context is important.
yeah, it's going to pick up major elements. It's not going to pick up subtleties.
Right. Right. So
is that having something better than not having anything at all?
I think it's almost just as useless.
Think so?
Sort of. I mean, the whole point of graphics and having pictures within the body of a website is to portray some sort of particular context or emotion, or it's there for a reason. And if, I would think that I would rather just not see it at all if it's just gonna be like picture of a sunset. I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
If I don't have any context for why that's important.
Yeah, prime example, Ryan. You've got a picture up on your wall of a whole bunch of faces of rock stars. Mm-hmm. Now, you threw AI at that picture of faces of rock stars, and it comes back and it says a number of faces.
Right.
Is that helpful?
Yes. No, that's not helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we want to go the other way when it comes to alt tagging pictures. Maybe these other accessibility issues, maybe that's something that you can throw AI and it can fix. It can fix the spacing of your letters, or it can fix, whatever, your header structure or whatever automatically. But when it comes to alt tagging pictures, I think that's something that we just want to encourage people to be doing themselves.
As long as they put quality into it, like you're saying, it's got to be more descriptive than a picture of a sunset, because people can be just as bad as AI.
Sure.
Well,
But that's
true.
why.
I mean, how many websites have we seen that have alt tags on them, but it says picture?
Absolutely, or graphic.
Yeah,
graphic. Absolutely.
Well, exactly. But that's an education thing. That's where we have to be encouraging people. This is how you alt tag a picture. These are the things to think about. Think about the context of it, and think about when you're describing the image, because you're describing it for people who can't see it. So think about that. And I mean, I don't think that that's rocket science, and I don't think that it's it would be a particularly difficult education campaign to really try to push that. But that's where I get a little bit nervous about the AI component of all this, because if we get into this habit where we can just be like, yeah, just throw in this line of JavaScript and it does it all for you, boom, boom, there you go, you're now accessible. No, I don't want to encourage that aspect. I want to go the other way and be like, look at your website, like really, dissect it and figure out and understand how somebody with a visual impairments is going to navigate it. Somebody with mobility issues who's just, basically using a switch or a tab key or something to sort of move through your different sections. How are they going to experience your website, and how can you make that a better experience for them? I mean, these are all things that I think that we need to educate businesses on if they're really serious about making their digital space accessible. We have to treat it just like the physical spaces. And I mean, those are a problem too. I mean, I think accessibility in general is such a people think that they know everything they need to know about accessibility and build spaces and digital spaces, and they just don't. It just means so much more than having a wheelchair ramp and a larger door to your bathroom. In terms of physical spaces. And that's where, I think about this, push for web accessibility and how, and I compare it to the physical spaces that we still have so far to go. Like, you just think of all the spaces out there in the world that are not accessible. Right from, I don't know, I walk through the mall, I don't see any Braille signage anywhere. Every time I walk through Lougheed Mall when I come to the podcast, I sort of be like, man, if I was blind right now, how would I, if I wanted to go to London Drugs, how the hell would I get there?
Yeah.
I'd have no way to go. Like just, yeah. So, I mean, you know, putting all these expectations on the digital space as well. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like that's not necessarily all that realistic, even though it's an easier fix. You should just call this the Rant Show. This isn't really a news show.
I'm just waiting for you to wind down, man.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well, we know there's a lot of work to be done,
Yes.
but I applaud any efforts to make things more accessible.
I do. I wonder. This Ontario, I'm fascinated. Ever since we had David Lepofsky on talking about the act over there in Ontario, I've kind of been fascinated by it, you know, just keeping an eye on it because, you know, it was the first province to really try this legislation, and they just seem to be missing a lot of their goals, and they still really have a long way to go. And you know, you don't want to poo-poo them too much because at least they're trying something. But part of the problem with a lot of these types of legislations is that, you know, one party will come in and implement it, and then that party goes out and the next party comes in, they're like, well, you know, this isn't really that's sort of their thing. We're not really all that committed to or they do the minimum or.
Well, this act has survived successive governments, so, you know, unless somebody strips the paint off it in the near future, there's a year to go before, you know, these requirements for web accessibility are going to be necessary. And I expect that if the legislation stands and you know, we hit that deadline, there's probably going to be lawsuits, and it will probably be lawsuits to the most egregious violators of the accessibility standards.
Right.
It'll probably be ones that are providing services that people need, who've made zero effort to be accessible.
Right.
And those are exactly the guys you want to get nailed to the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and they're saying, you know, like the smaller companies may face fines of up to $50,000 a day. You know, the governments and stuff could be facing fines of up to $100,000 a day. You know, and that all just kind of leads us into the Accessible Canada Act, right? Like if we don't learn from the failings of the ODA and change some of the terminology from may to will, we're going to have the same fiasco that Ontario's having right now.
Yeah, but I mean, the ACA does not cover. That's all just federal stuff.
Yeah,
that's
it's
all
just government.
Federal government who are exempt anyways.
And
who
they
can exempt themselves.
Yeah,
yes.
they can exempt
So,
themselves. So
that's the toothless. That's completely toothless. Now, whether or not, you know, if there is success in Ontario with this, you know, maybe they might roll some of that language into a, you know, sort of a federal the federal component of this. But I don't know. Like, I think that there'll be a lot of eyes on this. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of eyes on the ADA and what's going on down in the States right now, to see how they are navigating this new landscape of lawsuits. I mean, I haven't heard of any other big ones since the Domino's one, but I imagine that they're sort of ongoing.
Yeah, the Domino's one's actually still in the courts. You know, from what I read the other day, that actually hasn't been finalized yet. Yeah, and I also read one of the articles you sent over. There's over 2,000 other cases in the courts right now.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's some bigger companies that are you know.
Yeah, I think the main reason why the Domino's one got so well covered in the news is just because it went to the Supreme Court, and it was very public, and they were, you know, basically fighting against the ADA, which, you know, was a dick move to start with.
Yeah.
And a company that size should have zero issue with making their stuff accessible. They just decided they wanted to pay lawyers instead of web accessibility consultants.
Well, and it's not like, you know, it's not like they're the federal government that has, you know, millions of websites. Domino's has what, a menu, a navigation bar, like it wouldn't have been, I don't think, that difficult to make their website or app accessible.
Absolutely not.
Like what a waste of time and money.
Exactly. Yeah, for the amount they spend on lawyers, they could make their website the best damn pizza website
Absolutely.
on the planet.
I might have shopped there.
And there's a business case for that too. I mean, the more accessible your app or your website is, easier for people to order, anybody to order, that's going to be more business for you. It doesn't even make sense from a business case.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag Domino's.
Hey, you know what else I want to talk about?
No. What else do you want to talk about?
Did you hear about this new wireless retinal device? There's a company called UPMC that's implanted.
This is the one in California?
Yeah, they've implanted a retinal device as part of a clinical trial that's aimed at restoring partial sight to patients with things like macular degeneration and RP. I guess anything to do with the retina. And I guess the way it works is that it's a small chip that they insert in the retina that then will communicate with, say, something like a pair of smart glasses that will help, I guess, augment an image. I see stuff like this and I think that it's really cool, but then my mind immediately just goes to, but how practical is this?
It depends on your level of vision. If it gives you a little bit, they did say it takes some reprogramming and training to, have your brain recognize symbols or images. You're still not going to have 20/20 vision, but
nowhere close.
No,
nowhere close.
No.
See, this is another one of the baby steps that we're going to need to take towards having a functional, visual, implantable device of some kind. So basically, what they're doing here is they're putting this little device on the retina, I guess. Where is it? 378 tiny electrodes that convert infrared light from the glasses to electrical signals that are carried by the optic nerve to the brain.
Right.
So they have to go through a rehab program. They have to learn to interpret the signals, and compared to earlier generation implants, it's wireless and it has more electrodes, which means you get more visual information. But you still have to go through this training program to interpret what you're seeing, and people are, most patients are able to identify sequences of letters with this device. So it's not restoring sight.
Nope.
Right.
It's restoring functionality of some form, which you're going to interpret in a way using your visual processing center, but it's not sight.
Right.
Right.
So I've been really dubious about these technologies because they've been around for a while. And the earliest ones, you had 3 or 4 points of light that you could see, and all you could really see was light or dark.
Right.
That's pretty much it. They're getting better and better. Now we're to a point where people are able to identify letters with them, and I'd almost put money on it that they're going to be letters that are going to be in pristine, perfect line that they can present to them and have them, scan across in a very structured fashion.
Like an eye chart at an optometrist.
Yeah, that would be my guess. Yeah. I doubt that you're going to be picking up your Louis L'Amour paperback and
right.
Reading about the Sackett family anytime soon, but it's baby steps, right? Mm-hmm. Every single one of these is a baby step towards that goal, which ultimately is the artificial eye.
Right. Yeah. That
is as good as what we've got, with standard vision. That's the dream.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's interesting to think that, implants is sort of maybe the next step after wearables, right? Right now we're sort of immersed in this wearable revolution. So to take that and to sort of go, okay, well, maybe implants is sort of the next stage of that. But I mean, we're still so far away from this being, even if the trials are successful, and they go, okay, you know what, this is something that we're going to actually now offer. I would argue against any sort of business case for it, because for one, it's the cost is going to be astronomical.
Oh, sure.
Because you're going to have to go through the surgery, you're going to have to get the chip implanted, and then on top of that, there's a wearable component, because you have to use it. You're using it along with a pair of smart glasses and stuff.
Yeah.
So, for the average person, I mean, this is just not going to be a solution anytime soon. But I mean, it is interesting whenever something like this comes up, because it does make you go, okay, well, this is good. I mean, we want to be working on this type of a solution.
Yeah.
As opposed to, because this is a type of solution that's trying to fix the actual problem, as opposed to, normally AT is just here. This is technology that will help you work with whatever the impairment is, to sort of work around the impairment. This is actually trying to go in and fix the problem.
Yeah.
So
bravo on them, and bravo for the people who are actually, signing up to do this, because, they're taking risks.
Yeah.
There's always, when you're doing an implant like that, there's risks of infection. There's, it could have dire consequences for them, but they're signing up because, they see a future in this, and, more power to them. But I would never sign up for something like this. I mean, if I lost my sight tomorrow, I would throw myself behind learning Braille, and somebody came to me and said, "Hey, I might be able to give you 137 points of light." It's like, yeah, come back to me when you've got 4K or something,
Well, it would have to be usable and functional.
Yeah.
If you're just going to give me little starlights that I see, no thank you. But
okay, let's talk about haptics for a second. Now, we talked about, I thought this was an interesting article too, with CES just recently having finished up a few weeks ago, and we were talking at the time, I think we were talking a little bit about haptics and some of the different options that are out there. And interestingly enough, I was reading an article last week that was talking about our friends over at Hap2U, who we talked to a few years back. They presented at CES, and they pulled out a smartphone that they were demoing called Hap2Phone. Has haptics built right into the touchscreen. We talked a little bit about last time about how we kind of thought that is sort of a space where haptics might actually find some traction. Using haptics as with mobility aids is as we all know, is a little bit of a mixed bag. And I really feel like these guys are onto something. I do feel like there's some potential for integrating haptics into touchscreens. I think that there's a lot of mainstream applications for it, but I also obviously think that there's a lot of AT potential for that as well.
Absolutely, yeah. There definitely is. There was some talk years ago about haptics being built into iPhones at some point. I mean, the idea of being able to feel buttons on your screen, both for a visual and a non-visual person, that would be useful, right?
And I think that's the big reason why I think these guys are onto something is because of that. The mainstream applications. We know for a fact that the biggest leaps in accessibility always come as a result of being on the back of something mainstream.
Yep.
Because once it becomes mainstream, it becomes standardized, and then we're laughing. Like, we can just build accessibility on top of that. So I think that these guys, and I watched the demo that they did at CES, and it was all very mainstream. There was no real AT component to their presentation. They were talking about, hey, this would be really cool because you could be in your car, and you could be, say, turning up the volume of the stereo, you're just using a touch screen, and you'd feel that click, 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 click as you sort of were turning up the volume slider.
Yep.
And they did the same thing. They demoed a stove that just had like a touch screen, and how you'd be able to sort of control the temperature on the stove using a like sort of a virtual dial, but you'd be able to feel the dial sort of clicking at the different temperatures. They had an example of course, they had a picture of a fish. And they're like, this would be cool because you can run your finger along the scales of the fish and actually feel what the scales would feel like. They're really pushing this mainstream component of the usability. And I think that that's smart, because if we can push that haptic technology into the mainstream manufacturers of touchscreens, if Apple, say, were to come out, next iPhone, we have a haptic touchscreen. I mean, I really feel like that's a real possibility that we're going to see in the next couple of years. That could be a leap forward with this touchscreen technology that we haven't seen a really leap forward in quite a while. And that would be, I think, the first phone manufacturer that jumps on that and offers that up is going to be ahead of the pack. So I don't know. The way that I'm looking at this, guys, is that I think that it's just a matter of who's gonna jump on it first, and it's probably going to be Apple. I'd be shocked if Apple isn't already working on this somewhere.
Yeah, could be.
Because I really do. I think that it'll hit mainstream first. And honestly, in that case, Apple's the one I'm actually rooting for, because we know for a fact that if Apple jumps on this haptic touchscreen, they're going to build in some pretty great accessibility components with it. At least that's been their track record. And that's kind of exciting, because you think about all the different applications of this. The other thing that I thought was interesting, though, if you read the article, is that they're using the same technology as electronic braille devices. So it's the piezoelectric. Is that?
Yeah.
Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yep.
Yeah.
Close enough.
That technology is what's driving this particular haptic touchscreen, anyways.
It'd be cool to see where it goes.
But, and there's always a but, especially with me. What I'm wondering is what is that going to do to the price point?
Good question.
I mean, we know for a fact that particular technology is not cheap.
Yeah, I don't think that they're using that technology exactly the same way as we use it.
Quite possibly not.
I think it's a different animal, but we'll see. We'll see.
Well, we've talked about haptics for the longest time. We're still waiting for that, that right device, right? Who comes up with the magic sauce?
Yeah.
The wearables, like Rob said, are a mixed bag. If somebody comes up with a tablet that students can use in a geography class, or you can maybe take down to the aquarium or even in your house and load files onto it and look at pictures of dolphins and feel, the shapes and size, that would be great. But I don't think we're there yet.
Yep. We'll get there.
We will, yeah. But if the mainstream does it, hopefully, that'll help drive prices down quickly too. Yeah,
I know. I really think that this is where haptics is going. I think that's going to be the next breakthrough that we see is haptic touchscreens. I mean, you think about touchscreen technology, and it's kind of just plateaued for years. I think we're ready. I think we're ready for the next leap, and I think that haptics is where it's going to be.
I want a 3D hologram that I can touch and feel.
A 3D hologram?
Yeah. From my phone. I can just project an image into the middle of the room.
We're ways away from that, too. You'll get a robot before you get that.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Rob.
Where can people find us?
As usual, they can find us online at atbanter.com.
Yes, they can also drop us an email if they so desire at cowbell@atbanter.com.
And not only that, they can get us on all of those sexy social media platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
And I have to go on Instagram once I get my computer back from Mr. Rick and see how Rob's alt tags are going.
Oh, shut up, Ryan.
Hey, you ranted about alt tags.
I'm getting a little worried about my meds. Well, because dementia is definitely one of the side effects that they say in older people it could. I'm taking vitamin B supplements because of it, but I don't know. I tried to wean myself right off my meds, but on these stupid this acid reflux medication that I'm on, and I've got it down. I used to take 2 a day, and I only take 1. And I tried to get myself right off it, but like I would have to like eat a bottle of Tums every day.
Well, if you cut back on the ravioli, that's acidic tomato sauce.
It doesn't matter, dude. I can eat vegetables. I'm telling you. I mean, but that is true.
Cut out dairy. Cut out.
All right. Anyways, okay. I don't want to go too long. Steve's trying to get out of here, so I'm not going to go on about my medical issues or my dementia, my forthcoming dementia.
Right.
That
express your concerns to Rob at cowbell@atbanter.com.
Ooh, good on the stick. All right. Well, that is going to about do it for us this week. Thanks everybody for listening in to listen to our rant. Ryan, we got anything fun happening next week? Anything you want to plug?
Couldn't tell you. I don't know.
See, Ryan is suffering from dementia as well. We don't know what's going on. We don't know where we are.
It's in my calendar.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. We will see everybody next week.
This podcast has been brought to you by Canadian Assistive Technology, providing low vision and blindness solutions across Canada. Find us online at www.canasstech.com. That's CANASSTECH.com. Or call us toll free at 1-844-795-8324. For all your assistive technology servicing needs, call Chaos Technical Services at 778-847-6840 or find them online at chaostechnicalservices.com.
Whoa, look at that. Master of the one take.